Well, hello, friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here, and welcome down to the Nook. Sunday, so I'm going to shoot a couple of samples. These two come to me out of Texas from Ray, a fine gentleman who keeps me well stocked with some unique whiskeys that are harder to find here. I've got two ryes because I've kind of been playing in rye, and one of them actually I've been talking about and didn't realize Ray had sent that to me. So the first one is Sagamore Spirits. This is their double oak rye. So we'll talk about the Sagamore Spirits Rye. And then this is the one that I was kind of referencing very quickly. This is the Barrell Seagrass Rye that suddenly I've heard a lot of reviews, and I mentioned that, and some people said, I think you can get it in Alberta. I have a sample. So I've just opened it, haven't tried them. When you come back, when you pour some rye, some stronger rye if you have any, and I'll talk about Sagamore Spirits Double Oak and Barrell Seagrass Rye. See you in a bit. 3, 4. Thanks for staying with me through the opener. And thanks again, Ray. I just can't say thanks enough. I've been shooting value whiskeys throughout January. I think pretty appropriate for pocketbooks, but it is so lovely to be able to kind of step outside that constraint of value and just talk, is this great whiskey? And here's a couple of big ryes, I think. First thing I noticed with this Sagamore Double Oak is the color. It is clearly darker than the other rye on the table, and also just really stands out as dark. Now, what I understand, and I've done some reading. I don't have any special insight into this distillery, but I feel what I've read that this is MGP liquid, and that it's a blend of their 95.5 and then their low rye. Now, I thought it was like a 51 rye, but then I've heard that it's actually like 52% rye, almost a balance in corn, like 40 some corn. I'll put it down below. That could be. And then they age it in a high char for 4 to 5 years, somewhere in there. And then they take the mature whiskey and they age it again for 18 months in barrels that have a high toast stave component. So that's the double oaking in here, that extra 18 months in that toasted oak barrels. Let's see what we get on the rye. Interesting how much kind of dark fruit is coming right off on the nose for me. I was expecting that dry oak and a lot of spice, but the first thing, some dark fruit, some really rich cherry. And there it continues again with a little bit of that spicing that I was thinking of, some earthy cinnamons, some nice backbone to that. So there is a bit of oak now. With the cinnamon and then the fruiting, it's now kind of that sweeter sugared cinnamon bun thing I use a lot when I'm getting that on the nose. You know what? Moved back into dark fruit, but with a hint of maybe something like a citrus. I can't quite tell yet. If we're an orange, yeah, I think it's an orange. Yeah, bit of orange rind almost, like you've sprayed the edge of a cocktail. Very nice, very appealing. Little bit of medicinal herbal note right there, right at the end. Just a little bit of that, a herbal kind of grass note. Let's try it on the palate. Cheers. Very expressive. This is, I didn't say, it's about 96 proof, 48%, somewhere in there. Very expressive. Bold, brash, lots of oak, drying oak. Spicing now, the whole gamut of savory, right? We've got clove and nutmeg, cinnamon for sure, cracked pepper. The fruit came back, but is totally wrapped in cooked down caramel, cooked down peanut brittle. There's no peanut, but that kind of a crack sponge toffee cook. Lots of oak. Got to try this again. Okay, the palate really, really moved into oak. Like on the nose, I was expecting to get a little more. You can smell char, you can smell a little oak, but it really didn't take me there. For me, the nose, and it's just first thoughts, was really all dark fruit, some sweetness, but the palate is like now drying at the end. Now, I also find rye dries my palate and really asks for that next sip. So, the spirit itself is drying, but it is significantly oaked. I like oak, and I will probably put a little splash of water in this as I enjoy it after the shooting is done. That is delightftle, really expressive, really that palate. And that citrus. I was getting a little orange on the nose. It's lemongrass, grassy, drying, spicy, and oaky. Right on. What an experience. Okay, because of the significant barrel influence from the Sagamore double oak, I didn't just cleanse with water. I took a moment to try to get my palate to reset. Now I want to talk about Barrell Seagrass, their Barrell Seagrass Rye. I've heard a lot about this. From time to time, certain whiskeys kind of move through the community or show up on a lot of channels, and this Barrell Seagrass is one of those. I've heard so much. I don't have any special insights on this rye, but as I know, it's a blend of Canadian, Indiana, and Tennessee ryes. Though the percentages of those, I really don't know. I feel though that, hence the name and the group, everything I've read is they're really emphasizing, the different barrel effects on whiskeys. And here they've got a unique combination of rum and brandy and wine cask. So I think it's two kinds of rum. I'm not a big rum guy, but I think it's Martinique and Agricole Rye. Really not a big rum guy. And then brandy, apricot brandy, and Madeira wine cask. And they've made it up. It is stronger than this other rye in terms of percent. I think it's around 118 proof, 59%-ish, something like that. So we'll see what we get on Barrell Seagrass. Oh, that is a very different nose. This is settled in to spicy, herbal, darker fruit, whereas this, much sweeter. The fruits, I'm going to get a variety of cut fruit, orchard fruit. We're not just into that kind of that dark, thick cherry. We'll see how it changes when I have a sip. See if I get the same kind of experience. So hopefully you got a good rye. Cheers. It's also a bold rye. At 59%, my palate is saying hello to quite a bit of alcohol. But the flavor palate's quite different than that Sagamore. It is spicy, but not as many savory, not as much clove. It's got little edges of cinnamon, but more just cracked pepper is the spice. But the first thing again is a sweet fruits, brandied fruits, like legit. Candied apples, brandied pear. Oak is balanced. It's drying now at the end, which I would say a bit more to rye. Rye tends to dry my palate in a pleasing way. Now in the longer finish, a little bit of char and some spicing. Now some hot cinnamons, and that, as I said earlier, the cracked pepper, kind of pepper backed away, but now it's coming back with a little more depth. It's a great rye. I better have another sip. I'm also going to try a little bit of water on that. It's pretty bright. I think a little bit of water might bring out more of the sweetness. Sometimes oak comes up with water. I have to say these are actually really different ryes. This is a little more traditional, with an amazing amount of oak. If you like significant oak on fairly traditional approach to rye, go for it. I like it. This is something that if I can track down a bottle and afford it, I would want to take small amounts through most of an evening. This is shifting in my palate right now in the finish. I mean, it is significantly sweeter, but as rye has that backbone, it's balanced with that spice, with that, oh, it is a unique expression. Absolutely. And I certainly enjoy it and love the chance to try it. Thank you again to Ray for both of these samples. I really appreciate them both. If I were to say, which one do I want to spend an evening with? It is actually the Seagrass. It is truly unique. Now that's just my first thoughts. Tasted them live with you. Obviously will change as I sip, as I try, as I put water on. Hopefully I'll get to know the whiskey a little better. But thank you for joining me here. The purpose of Sunday Sample is just to sort of first thoughts on a couple of different things. Sometimes my market, sometimes not. And really nice to kind of be pulled out of the value definition and trace some big ryes here. You guys have a great week.